There are 46 cars heading to the Monza grid, ready for the first GT4 European Series race of 2021. It is some grid and it's going to be some race, that is for sure, because it is absolutely full of fascinating cars and drivers, a great mix of young guns looking to make a GT career, some established drivers, some driver combinations that we've seen before, many new ones too, and with such a busy grid, plus mandatory pit stops, an awful lot can happen. Welcome then to the first round of GT4 European Series 2021. David Addison with you, Gemma Scott down on the grid and in the pit lane. And as the cars make their way to the grid, it is based on the qualifying times set within the first of the two sessions that took place earlier on in the day at Monza. And it is Johan Sturm who lines up then on pole position. The Monza circuit, just under 6 kilometres in its length. Of course, there's the first chicane, always that pinch point before they accelerate around the Curva Grande out to the middle chicane, the two Lesmo curves, down to the Variante Ascari, the straight down to the Parabolica, and that long slipstreaming dash up towards the timing line. 10 turns in total, and 10 minutes to go before the start of the formation lap here for the opening round of a championship that really has bounced back. Last year, a number of teams had to withdraw their entries from the series, saying, we'll be back, promise, we'll come back next year when things are a little bit clearer. And in spite of everything that's still going on in the world, back they have come. They've been good as their word, and many of the drivers returning with a few shuffle driver combinations, as I say. So there's an awful lot to look forward to. Got some British interest in the championship this year once more as well. And interestingly, a championship that, after having a very strong Dutch GT4 championship a few years ago, had a very Dutch feel to it being in the European Series. So as the French GT Championship has gone the GT4 route, many of those drivers and teams spilling over into this. So it's got a very French feel currently, the GT4 European Series, but not exclusively French. It's a very cosmopolitan entry, that is for sure. And looking down onto the grid there, as you can see, the last few cars making their way forward. Pole position to Joel Sturm and Nikolai Müller-Madsen in the Porsche, and the car on the outside of the front row, the CMR Toyota, CMR being classic modern racing, of Antoine Potti and Stéphane Lemeray, the two Belgian drivers. So there you can see, coming out of the Parabolica up to the grid itself, 5 minutes before the formation lap gets underway. And mandatory pit stops, of course, between the 25-35 minute mark. 95 seconds is the pit stop time, line to line. But if you're changing tyres, then you have to stop for 125. There shouldn't be a need to go from, for example, in this context, slicks to wets, because the weather is fair for the day. It is going to remain like this. Not the warmest of days, we understand from those outside, but it is sunny at least. And there is Joel Sturm, not Strum, Sturm, who is the man on pole position. Nikolai Müller-Madsen will do the second stint in the Allied Racing Porsche. Allied Racing running a GT3 Porsche as well. That's sadly looking very second-hand after an accident in pre-qualifying, so a win here might lift everyone's spirits for the day. Antoine Potti ready to start in the number 8 Toyota. And on the outside of the front row, Antoine Potti, who's been doing some rallying in the winter months, as well as getting as many miles testing the Toyota as he can under his belt. He's ready to go on the outside of the front row of the grid there. On the third row is the CMR Alpine that is going to be started by Loris Cabirou. And then that Alpine will have alongside the Markus Lungstrass Aston Martin that there just arrives into position. Now, Gemma Scott is down on the grid, and so too is Nikolai Müller-Madsen, who'll do the second stint in the pole-sitting Porsche. Let's hear from the Danish driver right now.
Nikolai, yourself and Joel on pole down here for this first race of the season. Joel obviously starting, you'll take the second stint. Going into that first corner, what can we expect?
It's going to be a tight one now, 47 cars. I mean, our plan was to start in the top to avoid some accidents, and Joel made a perfect job with doing a P1, so I hope everybody respects each other. It's the first race of the year, and everybody knows that it's a long race, so everybody will get around the corner. And then if we get around the first corner, I think the other one has to wake up, because Joel is fast here.
Yeah, speaking to Joel earlier on after the qualifying session, he said the car was absolutely on point.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, our engineers did a good job. it seems like we did a good job. So we got a new BOP now, and I think we can still manage this. And the goal is now that Joel is going to pull a gap, and then I can manage the gap in the last stint. And then our engineer need a new haircut tonight. So that's the plan.
Have a good race. Thank you.
So the Porsche with a different BOP, as you hear Nikolai Malamadsen suggest. There's another of the quick Caymans, great looking cars these. Ivan Jacoma in the Century Porsche Ticino entry on the inside of the second row of the grid. And he will have for this season a new co-driver, because Max Busnelli lines up with him. There is the United Autosports Mclaren, one of the two, 23 and 32, the two numbers. Bailey Voisin and Charlie Fagg share this car. Charlie Fagg very, very quick in his qualifying session, but Bailey Voisin is no slouch, graduate like Charlie of Ginetta Junior Racing. So fourth, that car lines up. The grid now being cleared. Number 70 is the Jamie Caroline and Jean-Luc Daria Mercedes. Jamie Caroline, we've seen star in Formula 4, in British Formula 3 and British GT4 Aston Martins last year as well. His dad, Lee Caroline, came from oval racing into TVR Tuscans and was very, very competitive in the final days of the TVR Tuscan Challenge. And Jamie's grandfather, great oval racer as well, Dave Caroline. So Jamie starting on the fourth row of the grid, and Ruben Del Sart starting alongside in the Mirage Racing Aston Martin. Another second generation racer. Ruben Del Sart, his dad raced in Formula First in its very early days, got as far as Formula 3 for a time in Britain, but concentrating on running Ruben's career these days. As the leading car sets off then, the green flag is waved and the GT4 field blasts into life. The run now down towards the Rettifilio chicane. You can see this 46 strong, it was going to be 47, it's down to 46, one car withdrew. 46 strong field stretching right the way back. Some haven't even started moving yet, down to the Parabolica. The grid, Joel Sturm is on pole position. Antoine Potti lines up alongside. It is Porsche and Toyota on the front row. It is Porsche and McLaren on row two. Even Jacoma starts with Bailey Voisin alongside him. Loris Cabarrou is fifth on the grid with Marcus Lungstrass lining up alongside. Then Jamie Caroline and Ruben Del Sart on the fourth row of the grid. And row five is Gus Boas and Xavier Lloveras in his NM Racing Team Mercedes. Fabian Michel lines up alongside Clement Zeiler on the sixth row. Row seven is Enzo Juli, and Alex Hartwig lines up alongside him. Francesco Guerra has Robert Consani for company. The ninth row, Hugo Condé and Eric Clement in his Audi. And then on the 10th row of the grid, you've got Christophe Amon and Thomas Odier in the Team Speed Car Audi. The 11th row of the grid, Paul Evra lines up alongside Jock Raponge with the V8 Racing Chevrolet. The 12th row is Paolo Nemi and Amadeo Pampanini. The 13th row of the grid is where you find Konstantin Lachnauer and Nicolas Gomar, very experienced driver, class champion last year. The 14th row, Luca Bosco will start number 34, the Sellerslach Racing Team Mercedes. Alongside him is Jean-Ludovic Foubert, ahead of Cembolo Bauzi and Giuseppe Gezzi. Next up, Andrea Benezet and Stefan Gehrig. Then on the 17th row, Philip Vava and Jean-Luc Bobelik. The 18th row, Christian de Comte and Johan Vannerum. On the 19th row of the grid is the BMW of Paolo Meloni, and from a different team, similar car, Hassan Tansu. The 20th row of the grid is where you find Konstantin Dressler and Gregory Faisal. Row 21 on the grid is Mauro Ricci alongside the one soloist, Andrei Solokotsev. The 22nd row, Pascal Bachmann and Piotr Hodson, and row 23 is Christian Gysi and Dario Cerati. So that is 46 cars, which makes for a great sight. I mean, that would be a headline race in normal circumstances, but it's part of a very impressive supporting cast to GT World Challenge Europe. And the cars now make their way up towards the Variante Ascari. Some are still coming through the Lesmo curves further back, trying to get warmth into the Pirelli tyres, get the pressures up. There you have the great variety represented. Mercedes, Toyota, Audi, Porsche, BMW, Chevrolet, McLaren, Alpine. There's bound to be one I've missed going through all of that, but it really does illustrate just how popular GT4 racing has become, especially since the manufacturers started building what you might call a turnkey race car. In the early days of GT4, you had a car that you then had to effectively have homologated by a tuner. And now that it's been built by the manufacturer, there's better support, you could argue there's better reliability, there's better technology in it, and it's made a huge difference. And they're user-friendly cars, they appeal to the AMs, they appeal to the young drivers wanting to make a career in GT racing. It's a way of learning before you get into GT3, so it ticks many a box. And from the outside, it gives great racing as well, which is to be applauded at any opportunity. So they get themselves now into the 2x2 side-by-side formation, ready for the start. Co-drivers nervous in the pit lane, ready to see what pans out. The race director, the British official, Steve Burns, if he's happy, will give the indication that the lights can change to get the race underway. And the cars then now accelerate their way through the parabolica. The two lines of traffic ready to go into battle then. Slowly through the parabolica, the clock starts on instruction. It is a 60-minute race, mandatory pit stops, of course. And so 22, Joel Sturm on pole position, Antoine Potti lining up alongside him. They make their way now up towards the timing line, which is coming out of the parabolica. Start line, finish line, slightly different places. There are the lights on the gantry, and in a moment then the lights will change to get the race underway as the cars now are released. They blast away, and a good start made by the Toyota on the outside of the front row, also looking to try to make progress. Ivan Giacomi in the Porsche from the second row there, looking for a gap in the middle, but he can't take it. It's Antoine Potti who gets the drag for the race lead. Bailey Voisin finds a gap on the outside line in the first of the orange and blue McLarens as they break for the first chicane. Many ride the curb on the inside in the middle of the pack, though. Are they all going to survive? Does anybody get turned around? This is always real heart-in-mouth stuff. 1 or 2 bounce over the curb, but so far 30 odd have got through, nearly 40 have got through. I think all of them have got through, and the race leaders power their way through the Curva Grande for the first time. Antoine Potti leads the pack then, and he's just trying to edge away ever so slightly. Joel Sturm is in second place. Ivan Giacomo there is third. It's Bailey Voisin in fourth. Marcus Lundstrass fifth. Ruben Del Sart, another graduate of the British Ginetta Junior scene, running in sixth place. Gus Bowers seventh. Jamie Caroline is eighth. Loris Caberou ninth. And Fabio Michel 10th as dust settling. 87 is the Mercedes of Jean-Luc Bobely. A long way back, but he didn't put Jim Plower in that car for the second stint. Watch it fly. Giacomo there, turning his way up through the Lesmo curves, and now heading down towards the Variante Ascari for the first time. So Potti in the Toyota didn't qualify as well as Joel Sturm, but the BOP has been looked at for the Porsches, and that was what Nikolai Moller-Madsen was not overly happy about on the grid, and it now means that that Porsche is having to play catch-up against the Toyota. Giacomo is third still in his 718 Cayman. At the back of the pack currently is number 8, Christian Gysi. So the cars now run through the Variante Ascari for the first time. Big slide there, look, from one of the Mercedes that got all crossed up. Just about survived, but that might have caused 1 or 2 people to have a bit of a heart-in-mouth moment as the pack came onto that very fast section of the circuit down towards the parabolica, up towards the end of the opening lap of the race. I think it might have been the Trivelato Racing Mercedes of Francesco Guerra. Right, lap 1 is done, and Antoine Potti in the Toyota leads the way, but now Joel Sturm is coming back at it, the 19-year-old German driver. He was in the German GT4 series last year, now moving into the European series. Third is Giacomo. Fourth is Bailey Voisin there. Look, the McLaren lining up to have a go possibly as they come to the braking area. Marcus Lundstrass fifth, and he's under attack from Ruben Del Sart there, who gets up the inside, hits the curb. As long as that's all he hits, that's okay. He avoids making contact with Lundstrass. That car of Lundstrass fifth at the moment, but his co-driver, Henrik Pedersen, was the slowest in his session, so it might well be, on that evidence, one that falls way back in the second stint. As now Bailey Voisin comes up to have a go at the Porsche ahead of him, so Ivan Giacomo fending him off just as they come up towards the second of the chicanes. There is Del Sart now ahead of Lundstrass, and Gus Bowers there being given a bit of a workover by Jamie Caroline. Jamie goes through back up into 7th place. Replay of the start. Have a look at the Toyota on the outside of the front row. Really good getaway that by Antoine Potti. Lights change, race blasts into life, and as the cars accelerated away, so the Toyota using its grunt in a straight line to get up on the outside line, take the advantage as they run down towards the Rettifilio chicane for the first time. But just look at all the traffic behind, how crowded that was, and this is where you've got to be respectful. You've got to try and give a little bit of room just to survive and then be able to think about your race. As far as I could see, nobody actually getting in enough strife to even need to take to the escape road, which is very good to see indeed. 3 wide there, with 126 being run out a little bit wide, the Mercedes of Philippe Vava, but they all survived it. Right, up to the end of lap 2 they come, and Antoine Potti leads the way, but Joel Sturm coming back at him now. That gap down between the leaders. Ivan Jacoma is in 3rd place still, Bailey Voisin is 4th. And there, the blue BMW to the inside, looking to gain ground, number 12 that is. So that's the car that is shared by Cembolo Bazzi and Bekre Vessler. Cembolo Bazzi at the wheel of it at the moment. Good sim racer as well as real world racer, and making progress as he comes up towards the end of lap 2 there. Potti still leading, but now, if anything, that battle pack is growing. 4 for the lead, and number 22 Porsche, Joel Sturm, right on the back of the Belgian driver. Then the Toyota leading the Porsche at the moment, and a safety car board I see there. And that's the reason, because somebody's had a sizable moment. That's at the Variante Ascari, is it not? And that is 45 Hugo Condé. And he has done a right old number on the barrier and on that car. So there's debris on the road, there's liquid on the road. There it is, just at the top of the screen. Boom, round it went into the barrier. And Hugo Condé tries to drag it out of the way, but that's done sizable damage. And so the safety car is deployed. And the field slows accordingly then. So that takes, for the moment, the sting out of that battle that we were enjoying between the Antoine Potti Toyota and the Joel Sturm Porsche running in 2nd place, Ivan Jacoma 3rd. If you've got your quicker driver in for the first stint in this race, of course, sadly for you, this is where the safety car goes against you, because it's eating into the racing part of their time, and they can make less of a difference. But if you've got your slower driver in, then you're not really wasting him, because they can't go at a proper race pace right now. So it gives the advantage perhaps back to those teams with their quicker driver in for the 2nd stint. So the cars currently behind this safety car carry on down towards the Variante Ascari, but it might be a good 2 or 3 laps, I would have thought, before that road is going to be able to receive cars at race pace. Well, it depends, I suppose, not just getting the car out of the way, but how much barrier damage has been incurred as well. We'll check back on that once the damaged race car is out of harm's way. Now it's about keeping tyres and pressures relevant. Tyre temperature up, tyre pressures up as best they can. Down towards the Parabolica they come. And looking in the background there, Ruben Del Sart turns through. So confirmation that the safety car is because of number 45, which is the sole casualty. A fairly sizable casualty, I'll grant you, but it's the only one of the first few laps. There's the safety car then, so the procedure has been adhered to, the boards were there, and at the end of the lap the car is ready to receive the leader. So there's no ambiguity, it's all done properly, not like a mad scramble where it picks up somebody in umpteenth place and it all becomes a nightmare. There's Hugo Condé looking at what's left of his car and hoping that that is able to be made good for tomorrow's race, the AGS Events entry that he shares with Akhil Rabindra, the Indian driver, who's quite quick under normal circumstances, and he's been a regular pace setter in GT4 racing, so it's a shame that we are denied the chance to watch Akhil Rabindra in this. Hopefully he'll be racing tomorrow, but it does rather depend on how that car is able to be repaired overnight. So the drivers turn through now on this what is a 4th lap of the race. All these of course count within the hour, and eager to get on with life. 1 or 2 of the drivers starting to be a bit more committed, a bit more energetic in the pack there further back, but it won't be long I think before, now that car is out of harm's way, we will be good to go. Safety car is going to be in at the end of this lap, therefore. So as they turn through, speeds are building. Safety car will try and quicken its pace to help the drivers get the tyres back up to temperature, get the pressures back up as well. So you can expect the safety car crew to be starting to increase that pace pretty shortly. So 46 there were, 45 there still are. and what more drama can come. So, all being well, the officials should be good to release the cars. There's confirmation from race control. Safety car in at the end of this lap. And as they turn through the left and the right, and the left of the Variante Ascari, past the incident zone. Yeah, I think it's just the Fanatec banner that has really suffered. There are plenty more of those, so the message gets across. We'll get the race back underway. Lights out then on top of the safety car. That's the indication that it is going to peel in this time, that we will go racing this time. And as the field comes then down towards the Parabolica, you can see Antoine Potti will be on his toes. One car is under investigation for a false start, and it's the blue BMW of Chambolet Bazi out of the Pro-Am class, number 12 then, so under investigation for a false start. We'll wait and see what comes of that as we are set to go racing, and it's what, the top 6 in a line as Antoine Potti gets ready to floor the throttle. The race gets back underway now. There's the green flag looking up the road. So Potti it is that leads, with Joel Sturb in second place, third Jacoma, fourth is Voisin, Delsart fifth, sixth Lundstrasse as we go racing. It's 6 for the lead as they come past the pits. So 10 minutes are done, 50 minutes to go, and they head down towards the chicane then with on the outside line there, look to the back of the group, the 6th place Aston of Marcus Lundstrasse. He's suddenly reeled in by Jamie Caroline, and he brings Gus Bowers with him as well. So that leading line gets longer and longer and longer as the cars accelerate now up out of the chicane to the Curva Grande. Antoine Potti leads the way, but he's not really storming off into the distance as yet. However, Joel Sturm is having to fend off the challenge of Ivan Jacoma, who's right there behind him. He's bringing Bailey Voisin with him in turn. Up towards the chicane, Jamie Caroline over the curb, almost into the side of Marcus Lundstrasse. They're both delayed, and Gus Bowers nips past Caroline, so also there does Xavier Lloveras, and they might be able to put a move on Lundstrasse as well. Bowers gets through, yes. So there, Jamie Caroline nearly went one up. He's ended up being about 3 or 4 places down out of all of that, so it did not work for him at all. Oh dear. So Jamie Caroline, number 70 Mercedes, will fight back, but that's dropped him, I reckon, to about 9th place now when he was actually going for 6th. The race leader is Antoine Potti, and he storms on. There you can see, side by side, further back, the Audi number 14, trying to wriggle through. That's Clement Zeiler, who was good in GT4 a couple of years ago, and has done some GT3 racing in his time. So Clement Zeiler looking rapid as he hustles on through the Variante Ascari. They come, and again, you can see the way the BOP works to equalise all of these different cars, the Mercedes against the Toyotas, against the Audis, the Aston Martins, the McLarens, the BMWs, the race leaders down to the Parabolica. Fight on for third now. Bailey Voisin to the outside of Ivan Jacoma as they turn through the Parabolica once more. Over the timing line goes the race leader, so Antoine Potti it is. Goes through, race leader by 7/10 of a second now as he tries to just extend that margin a little bit, but the battle is on for third place. Ivan Jacoma under attack from Bailey Voisin. 5th is Ruben Delsart, and Gus Bowers then coming under a renewed attack from almost everybody else really in a big line behind him. There you've got Jacoma, the leading Pro-Am, and a troubled Mercedes having got the line wrong. That is Xavier Lloveras, but he's still going okay as Lloveras up to 8th place. There to the outside line, Bailey Voisin, who was, what, 3rd in the Ginetta Junior Championship last year in the UK, to the outside of Jacoma, and tries to make that move, and he will do so, yes, even before the chicane. I was going to say under braking, but he's got the work done. So good pass that by Bailey Voisin. The Ginetta Junior Championship, the school of hard knocks. If you can go well in that, you can go well in anything, and he's proving the point here. Turns now into the first of the Lesmo curves. 70 goes through, Jamie Caroline trying to fight back then. So his next target is going to be the United Autosports McLaren up the road. That's Marcus Lundstrasse heading the AM Cup, and he's falling back into the traffic now. The Racing One Hella Padgett car lost ground a lap or so ago, and as there, you've got Jamie Caroline battling with Xavier Lloveras, the 2 Mercedes going absolutely toe-to-toe. At the start of the lap, Xavier was ahead of Jamie, and as they get to the Variante Ascari, Jamie Caroline is ahead there. So Caroline ahead of Lloveras, rides the curve. He's not the wipers on now, Jamie Caroline has, but anyway, he battles through the other side of the chicane, and when he focus on it, flip those off, concentrate on the race once more. There are the 2 leaders, Antoine Potti just ahead of Joel Sturm. Jamie Caroline defending from Xavier Lloveras in this long, long queue of cars, all squabbling for the bottom end of the top 10. And trudging back is Hugo Condé out of the race with that rather now crumpled Aston Martin. 46 minutes are on the clock. Race leaders dive out of the Parabolica. Up towards the timing line they go once more. And now to Ampotti over the line. Joel Sturm 9/10 of a second back this time. There are the two Mercedes. On the inside, Jamie Caroline. On the outside line, Xavier Lloveras. They lean on each other, but Jamie Caroline goes through. Lloveras gets forced out wide. All the Audis suddenly arrive on the scene as well there, and it was Xavier Lloveras that was the one that lost out really by skipping over the curb a little bit, which delays the exit speed, and it also means that Markus Lundstrass goes back ahead of him. The Aston Martin then, Lundstrass, number 18, goes through. The blue and white Fabien Michel Audi comes up now to challenge Xavier Lloveras. Fabien Michel, an experienced driver from the French GT Championship, looking for a way by. Then you've got Clement Zeiler, number 14, then the BMW of Cembolet Bazi. So great long train of cars, all squabbling here as they come out of the chicane. Through they turn into the Lesmo bends now. Number 14, Clement Zeiler runs wide, digs a trench behind the curb. That compromises the run off the corner, and it gives now Cembolet Bazi the opportunity to come up alongside him. He's going to go through, I think. And yes, the Borasan Automotive Motorsport BMW goes charging by, but on the outside line. So has he got the work done before the Variante Ascari? The answer is yes, he has. So through goes Cembolet Bazi, picks up the place. 26 Porsche, you'll notice, with its spare door adorning the car, is that of Alexander Hartvig. That's another of the Allied racing cars. They've had a busy period over the last few days at Monza by the look of it. The team with GT3 and GT4 cars needing more than a bit of TLC over the last few days. Bailey Voisin then up into third place at the expense of Ivan Jacoma. And in terms of the corner speed at the Parabolica, our race vision powered by AWS, showing that Xavier Lloveras might be losing places, but he's got good speed through this corner. As way out wide there goes one of the team speed car Audis. So 129 kilometres an hour through the Parabolica. Lloveras, Gus Boas only one click shy of that. Over the line comes the fight here between the team speed car Audis and those operated out of the Team Full Motorsports stable. Straight on goes Jamie Caroline at the end of the straight, up the escape road at the Rettifilio chicane. Now where does he blend back in relative to the opposition? He's going to be behind Xavier Lloveras. Well, he was ahead of him before he made that mistake, so he has effectively self-penalised by going up the escape road. He's lost a couple of places. Cembolet Bazi there to the outside of Fabien Michel in the Audi, the blue and white Audi number 42, is not only under attack, but has been attacked by the Santilok Audi that goes by, picks up position. One or two more running wide, and there's a big drama in the background, look, with a rather crumpled Porsche with lots of front damage, and that is Paolo Gnemi, and also off the road, Yot Raponge in the Chevrolet. And I would rather fear that's going to be another interruption to the race, because those are two cars that are not going to be moved easily, especially that very heavy Chevrolet. So let's wait and see what pans out. It's going to be a full course yellow, we are told. A full course yellow is being called for. That will slow everybody down. It might turn out to be a safety car period after that, but it's going to be full course yellow, and you can see why with the two damaged cars at the Variante Ascari, and more there because some slowed and others didn't, and that was Jamie Caroline getting right into the back of Xavier Lloveras because the full course yellow was called for. Xavier Lloveras slowed, Jamie Caroline didn't, bang! And the net result is two more damaged cars, but the full course yellow, the drivers are given a countdown, 20 seconds, then 10, and then counted down to 0, and that's when you slow. And Xavier Lloveras did. And Jamie Caroline straight into the back of him, and you can see the damage that's been done to the number 70 Mercedes, drawing attention to itself with the bonnet sticking up in the air. Jamie trying to peer through whatever aperture there is to have some visibility to get him back into the pit lane, but that's effectively race over, and he parks the car. And that is Xavier Lloveras, who's, I should imagine, pretty unimpressed by that, and will walk away as Jamie Caroline has a bit of explaining to do. So let's look at the first part of all the drama. It was in the background. Look at the top of the shot. There's the Porsche, damaged, coming into shot, and there's Raponge, who was also involved in it, bouncing across the road. So both seemingly with front-end damage, which is interesting. And then, from another angle, there's the Porsche. The impact's already happened. Raponge will kind of come into shot in a moment from the other side of the racetrack. So that was the first incident. There's the Chevrolet. But then the other one was when the full course yellow was called for. And now, let's have a look. There's the Porsche on the grass, and bang, into the Chevrolet. That's why they both got frontal damage, because it was front into the front corner. So the Porsche on the grass, out of control, harpoons the Chevrolet, and that put both of those cars out. And that is Jamie Caroline's Mercedes after getting into the back of Xavier Yovaras. Right, we've gone safety car. So we've had one safety car period, now full course yellow into the safety car period. And this is going to bring us, I would have thought, quite close to the pit window. Now let's have a look there. Look, Yovaras has slowed right down. He's done exactly what's required. Full course yellow has been called for, and Jamie Caroline doesn't respond in time for whatever reason and gets into the back of him, and you can see the damage. I mean, it's worse in slow motion with all those fragments of bodywork suddenly being showered around. And that is Xavier Yovaras, after what had been a good battle on track, looking at a lot of rear damage. So this is going to take a while, because there are two incidents effectively that now need clearing. '22 then, Joel Sturm. And the cars come out of the Lesmo curves now towards the run to the Variante Ascari. So the timing screen says car 15 hit the tyre barrier at turn 10. It was perhaps a less accurate description of what happened to poor old Xavier Yovaras. He was hit quite sizably, and that turned him around. So Antoine Pottier, the race leader in this second neutralisation, and he, of course, will be on his toes for that restart. But I would imagine that this is going to run for a few minutes yet, with these two incidents to attend to. And I don't think there's going to be barrier damage, actually. It's just a case, hopefully, of removing the cars. But in the case of the Mercedes contretemps, clearing all the shards of bodywork and bits and bobs off the road, because the last thing that anybody needs is for those to be constantly driven over and therefore triggering more punctures. There is Xavier Yovaras as he marches back towards the paddock and might discuss life with Jamie Caroline. But great frustration, inevitably. So, behind the safety car once more. Jamie Caroline's Mercedes is being retrieved. You can see the recovery vehicle has been deployed for that. And so, have another look at the Porsche. Top of the screen, it's on the grass, out of control. The Chevrolet turns in, and the contact is out of our view, but you can see the result of it, because that's, if you hit a Chevrolet Camaro, you're going to come off worse, and the Cayman does. And then with its broken front left corner, lurching over the curb, Yacht Repange in the Chevrolet arrives on the scene. The Camaro bounces back into view. So that was the catalyst for all of this. Full course yellow was called for. Now we've gone to safety car, and there it is as it comes over the line. So 38 minutes of the race still to go, but of course this being compromised by these interruptions. And it's not that the most recent incident was caused by two rookies, because Jamie Caroline's got a good CV in single-seaters as well as GT4 cars. Xavier Yovaras, a good GT4 driver, of course, as well. And great shame. Don't quite know why Paolo Nemi was on the grass, it must be said, but Yacht Repange couldn't really do very much. As he was turning in, it was his line for the chicane, and bang, something gets harpooned by the Porsche. So the clear-up operation continues. 37 minutes still to run as they come now through the chicane. The Porsche is out of the way, which is good to see. The cement dust put down to try and soak up any spilt liquid, but that's going to be a very strong high up to lift that Chevrolet out of the gravel, I would have thought. But once that is done, that section of circuit should be clear. Of course, Monza, like many Formula One circuits, has lots of little access points and perimeter roads, so you can, once a car has been retrieved, get the snatch vehicle out of the way very quickly, and then it can use the access roads, perimeter roads, to get back, to drop that car off and to return to its position. So he doesn't have to do a whole lap around the circuit at a slow pace and delay the resumption of a race even more. So the marshals with the yellow flags overseeing this safety car period. So the race order: Antoine Potty ahead of Joel Stern, Bailey Voisin is third, Ivan Jacome is fourth, Ruben Delsart is fifth, Gus Bowers is sixth, seventh Marcus Lundstrass, eighth Cembolo Bazzi, ninth Fabien Michal, and 10th is Francesco Guerra. Clement Zeiler is in 11th place. 12th spot it is Loris Kebiru, 13th Robert Consani, 14th Alex Hartwig, and 15th is Eric Clement. Now the pit window is going to be delayed because of the safety car period. You see on the battle-scarred BMW there with rear valance missing, and others with flapping bodywork too, but the pit window is going to be delayed because we are behind the safety car at this juncture. So although it would normally open at the end of the first 25 minutes, that will be delayed. It will have the same allowance, the window will be the same duration, but it will be started later in the race, which means that the second stint will be a shorter one. So over the timing line they all pour, and although Audi's had been at the bottom end of the top 10, at least one is leading the race now. So the safety car stays out for another few laps whilst everything is attended to. As soon as possible, of course, things will get back underway, but it will be a little while yet, I think. Another lap or two at least. Field turning through the Filio chicane. Fastest top speeds of all, Alex Hartwig, 267 kilometres, and also Konstantin Dressler, 267. Paolo Nemi, 265. Whether that was on the grass, it's not revealed, but his is the rather crumpled Cayman. But note that the fastest three cars in terms of pace, those 718 Porsche Caymans. And as the field comes then into the second of the chicanes, the drivers eager to get going again, but the pit window doesn't open until that safety car period is done. And there is another car with witness marks all over it, 992 being pushed away. That's another of the Century Porsche Ticino entries of Amedeo Pampinini. So that has had strife somewhere along the way in the first part of the race as well. So the safety car remains on track. Drivers then making the run into the Variante Ascari once more, all eager to get back up to race pace, but not just yet, they can't. Antoine Potty, the race leader. We're heading towards, of course, the halfway point. Big shame that the race has been interrupted like this, with two incidents now to have to attend to. But the full course yellow is there to bring the field to a in theory, safe, slow speed. Rather than have to scramble the safety car, you get everybody to slow down, and in theory that's easier to introduce. But for whatever reason, there was a miscommunication, presumably aboard number 70 Mercedes, and you saw the net result. So now drivers conscious about tyre temperatures and pressures before that restart. You can see a bit more vigorous weaving, certainly in the background there, to try and maintain the warmth as best as possible. So we're 2 minutes into what would have been the window, heading towards half distance. There's 89, the Aston Martin that Nicolo Gomar and Eric Hare share. 20 Porsche is the Allied Racing entry in the hands for the first stint of Konstantin Dressler. So safety car stays out, another lap done. So that's the Chevrolet. Did take a bit of retrieval, didn't it? Big heavy car. And so number 17 from the V8 racing team got the damage to sort out overnight, and the GT4 drivers back on track tomorrow just before 1 o'clock, the second race. '89 goes through then. Safety car light still flashing. That's a very sorry looking Porsche in the background. There's a bit of gravel, I think, to be swept up still as well from the exit of that corner. But how many more laps of safety car? It's when the lights go out, of course, we know that it's going to be coming in, but there's no suggestion yet on our timing screen that that is imminent, and that message would be relayed relatively early in the lap to the teams. So 31 minutes still on the clock. The race duration won't be extended, even if the pit window has to be moved within the 60 minutes of the race. So as I say, what will happen is that the second stint effectively is going to become a shorter one, because you'll end up being butted up against the checkered flag at the 60-minute mark. So drivers turn through the Variante Ascari once more. Really is great to see how GT4 has responded over the winter, with lots of teams returning, as promised, it must be said, and great competitive racing. It's a shame that we're having this safety car period, but Marshall's working as quickly as possible to clear everything and make the circuit safe once more. And the team's also now thinking, right, okay, so I've got less opportunity to use second driver. How are we going to play this? Well, of course, on the one hand, everyone's still relatively bunched up. There's an argument to, of course, point out safety cars breed safety cars, but hopefully we'll have another interruption as Clement Zeiler goes through, number 14, sharing with Rui Maihaus, the Israeli driver. Again, very cosmopolitan field that we have. And as the safety car does now another lap, the drivers head over the timing line. So Potti, Sturm, Voisin, Jacoma, Delsart, Boas as well, the top 6. And then 7th is Longstrass, 8th Bullet Pazzi, Fabio Michel 9th, and 10th Francesco Guerra. So the safety car again down to the second of the chicanes. Yellow flags busily fluttering. Just to remind the drivers that that's the incident zone. So there you have the field pouring through. Contact between number 4, Robert Consani, and 69, which is the Team 4 Motorsport car of Christoph Hamill. That's going to be investigated after the race. Out of the Variante Ascari for the 13th time, and 28 minutes, just under 28 minutes are still to go, but get the feeling that the safety car is picking up its pace, which suggests that we're getting closer to a restart, because quite often if it's been a lengthy safety car period, the safety car will be told to go a little bit faster, which in turn helps the race cars start to get tyres back up to temperature. So it's a safer restart rather than going completely cold. So it might be that one more lap, but a quick lap might do us. We'll wait and see what instruction we have. The boards, you can see, are still there. The yellow flags still wave. And a spin behind the safety car. Now that goes down like a bucket of whatnot with race officials. 9-11 is Christian de Conte. Safety car in at the end of this lap, but Christian will have some explaining to do as to why he was rotated during a safety car period. The argument will be, I was trying to warm up my tyres and they were so cold it snapped away from me, but spinning behind a safety car, never a good look. So we go racing at the end of this lap, and therefore confirmation of the pit window opening won't be far away. it might be that the safety car is in and then they get one further lap for the window to open. This was the reason for the spin, and it was a bit of contact, was it not, with 89, which is Nicola Gomar. So we go racing this time. There you have, way back, the BMW of Paolo Meloni, and still they come pouring through, more of the Toyotas. But up front, you can see now the drivers starting to bunch up once more. If the teams are really on their mettle, if the drivers are concentrating, they will be getting ready for the restart. They'll be as close as they can be to the car ahead, ready to try to pounce on the resumption of the race then, as the field comes now down towards the Parabolica. Antoine Potti backs off a little bit, so he's got space away from the safety car so that when he starts to accelerate, he can go and keep building and keep building and keep building and try and steal an advantage back over Joel Sturm on this restart then. So the safety car comes into the pit lane. It's going to be 25 minutes when we get back underway, which effectively would be the second stint anyway, but we've yet to have the mandatory pit stop, so it's going to be very busy for 10 minutes when the pit window does open. In now comes Bailey Voisin, but we haven't had confirmation. Oh, now the pit window does open, so he's timed that nicely. In he comes, so the race back underway. Antoine Potti storms clear, but down the pit road comes Bailey Voisin, and that could be a very good move to get that stop out of the way just as the race restarts then, because everybody else is going to be in a big scrum. To the outside line goes Joel Sturm, and he's going to run out of road at the chicane, and so does the leader. Antoine Potti gets it wrong and goes up the escape road. Joel Sturm straight on up the escape road. Now, where does that put him on the recovery? Let's see as the field goes out of the chicane. It's going to be the Toyota through, but where is Sturm? There he is. He's dropped back into about 5th or 6th place by the look of it, and he might have a problem actually, because the Porsche looks like it might be low on one corner and cars are streaming past him as he tries to recover. So Antoine Potti, despite all his curb hopping, still leads the way. Ivan Jacoma is second. Third now is Ruben Del Sart. 4th place is Gus Bowers, and so down to 5th, Joel Sturm. That dust is largely cement dust put down on the road, more than people having an incident, I think, in the background. But the field accelerating through for the 15th time. And with the pit window now open, as I say, Bailey Voisin took that opportunity to dive in just as it opened, and that was a good move. Number 90 is being investigated for possibly overtaking under the yellow flag. That's Francesco Guerra. Now the pit window is now, as I say, open, and it is open for just under 10 minutes as the cars pour their way through the Variante Ascari. So expect another raft of people coming in at the end of this lap there. Bolobasi just ahead, look, of Marcus Lundstrass. Chen Bolobasi's done a really good job in that BMW. He's picked his way up into the top 6. That's Bailey Voisin's car on its way back into the race, now with Charlie Fagg at the wheel, and doesn't go a lap down. So the 90-second pit stop, just under a lap, of course, with the drivers having to get back up to a proper pace away from that restart. So who comes in next? Antoine Potti will give way to Stéphane Lemray, but not yet, he won't. He's trying to build up the lead. Look in the background, the second of the UA McLarens is coming in. So that is Gus Bowers to give over to Dean McDonald now. And look, half the field pouring in. On the one hand, you've got to time it right for your race. On the other hand, you've got to time it right so you don't get stuck in traffic. And also, you've got to be careful of cars rejoining, because there are slower drivers stuck to the inside line who can't cross that white line. So it's going to get very busy for the next few laps on the run down towards the Rettifilio, like it wasn't busy enough already. Antoine Potti still leads the way then from Ivan Jacoma in 2nd place, and Joel Sturm down to 4th now. Again, the order continues to shuffle with people heading for the pit lane. This is for the race leader, Antoine Potti, but he's working his way through the traffic now. So ignore that yellow Aston in 2nd place. It's a lap down. That's the car that Paul Tysgens is behind the wheel of, I think I'm right in saying, which is now down in 37th place. Comes through. That was one in the gravel earlier on, 007. But it will die another day as it's got itself back into the race. Through goes 718, even Jacoma keeping Ruben Del Sart at bay. Right, so where is our best pitter? Well, in theory, it should be number 23, shouldn't it? Charlie Fagg will confirm his position at the end of the lap, because there are others that are still cycling through their pit stops. And up towards the Variante Ascari. Through the traffic goes Ivan Jacoma. He will give way to Max Busnelli. Alex Hartwig Porsche goes through. Now, Joel Sturm, after losing those places a little earlier down at the first chicane, trying to regroup. And where is he in the queue? He's fourth still as they come now down towards the Parabolica. Is Antoine Potti going to come in this time? Let's see as they brake, they turn in. Gets up the inside of the Aston Martin. He kind of feels some sympathy for the Belgian driver Paul Thijskens, because he's trying to keep out of the way, but he's also trying not to compromise his own race. Into the pit lane does indeed now come Joel Sturm, and he's not the only one to break the beam, I think, this time, because also in behind him is Chamberlain Barzi and plenty more heading for the pit lane as well, including Francisco Guerra, including Fabian Michel. So it is Potti from Jacoma, from Ruben Del Sart, 1, 2 and 3. And of course, in the case of many of these teams, if you've got more than one car, you don't want them all in on the same lap. And if you're really savvy, you'll work out who your neighbours are and have a word. Say, well, you know, if I bring my car in on lap X, can you bring yours in on Y? Because the last thing you need is to be hemmed in. And with 46 cars to cycle through a 10-minute pit window, it is perfectly possible that that can happen. It's at least only a driver change. There's no refuelling to be done, but it still gets very crowded. And the last thing you need is to lose time in the pits because you're stuck between cars you just can't wriggle away from. So the race has got 20 minutes to go. Pit stop cycle through, as you can see. Number 90 with the door wide open. That's going to put Jody Bello behind the wheel of that car, the young Italian driver. So on track, Antoine Potti leads from Ivan Jacoma, and now Ruben Del Sart trying to get himself up through the traffic. There is the race leader. There is second, back marker, and there is third. So Del Sart in the red, white and blue Mirage Racing Aston goes by. Tom Canning to take over that car, 2019 British GT4 class champion. And in the pit lane, there's mass exodus now, more and more of them pouring out. Chamberlain Barzi's BMW taken over now by Berke Bessler, and that will drop down a place or two relative to the United Autosports Mclaren. But they're the race leaders, and they're pushing this really fine to the end of the window. In a sense, given Max Busnelli's pace, I'm surprised that Ivan Jacoma is doing as much as he is, but he's staying as best he can with the race leader. And of course, they're in danger of catching up to back markers now. They're down towards the first chicane, number 11 BMW. That is Jagish Gedik trying to work his way up the order too. 76 Porsche, that's the car of Giuseppe Gezzi and Alessandro Giovanelli. Now Joel Sturm has been in, so now has Ruben Del Sart, and Jacoma pitted as well that last time, so he has dived for the pit lane. We've got number 74 under investigation, which is Enzo Giuli, for being out of the track at the first safety car restart. And the Caroline Lloveras incident is being investigated as well. So it's going to be a late night for those from race control, one fears. 18 minutes still on the clock, and the lead car yet to pit. Marcus Lundstrass up into second, number 18 Aston Martin yet to pit, but that's perhaps not a real surprise because he was much quicker than Henry Pedersen in the session for qualifying this morning. There is Antoine Potti, who's doing a very fine job at the moment to maintain the race lead. Stéphane Lemeret will take that car over, but what's going to be really interesting is to see where the main opposition is going to be in a very short second stint, because you're going to end up with something like, what, 9 minutes or so, sorry, 12 minutes or so once we get back under racing for that second stint. Out of the Parabolica comes the leader, and will be in this time, will he? Yep, Antoine Potti for the pits. So in comes Potti, and it will be about 15 minutes of green racing up to the very end, at the end of the window. So it's a very short second stint by about 10 minutes for some drivers. So who does that bring back into the mix? Who does it hurt as well? In some cases, if it's the quicker driver, it really does hurt. Good fight going on here. Now this is 718 Max Busnelli versus 32, and that's United Autosports McLaren taken over by Dean McDonald. So it's a good fight for position this. They both pitted. Porsche versus McLaren up towards the Lesmo curves, and number 32, I say Dean McDonald, I mean Charlie Fagg, don't I, in 23 is with him, Dean McDonald in 32. There, Antoine Potty becomes Stefan Lemray in the pit lane. So Giacomo in the Porsche, or what was Ivan Giacomo, now Max Busnelli, comes out of the Variante Ascari, and as Antoine Potty's car, Stefan Lemray at the wheel, rejoins. Notice that one of those UA McLarens has got ahead of him, so that I would predict is Charlie Fagg, who is now ahead. Yes, it is. So there is Giacomo, there's Dean McDonald behind him. So 23 is the winner on the pit stops by the look of it, Charlie Fagg, who is about to go for the race lead against Stefan Lemray. So he was the first in, and it was a good move because he's up to proper pace, and he might even get the lead here because as Stefan Lemray accelerates out of the pits, he can't cross the white line, and yes, through into the race lead does go Charlie Fagg then. So he's gone by. That should put him into the race lead now as Stefan Lemray rejoins. There in third place is going to be Max Busnelli, fourth is Dean McDonald, and almost everybody else fifth, because just behind is number 12, the BMW of Becquerel Bessler. So now, what can Lemray do about Charlie Fagg? This will be really interesting. Stefan Lemray's been around the block a few times. Charlie Fagg, though, very, very quick young driver indeed. So it's game on for just under 15 minutes. McLaren versus Toyota for the lead. It's Porsche versus McLaren for third place. And Dean McDonald there has done an absolute best in the first sector. Charlie Fagg has done the fastest lap of the race. You might not be surprised to know that, because I suppose to a degree had clear real estate for a while as others were cycling through the pits. But anyway, Charlie Fagg in a real hurry. He's got himself into the race lead. Lemray trying to fight back. This is the third spot then. Ivan Giacomo ahead of Dean McDonald. Sorry, I'll do it again. Max Busnelli ahead of Dean McDonald, having taken over from Giacomo. And now Busnelli trying to break clear. Behind them, Becquerel Bessler ahead of Romain Ionetta. Vincent Beltoise in the Alpine is in that queue of cars as well. But Lemray versus Fagg then. In the first sector, Charlie Fagg is 3/10 quicker, so it's very much advantage United Autosports McLaren at the moment. As there, Tom Canning goes through. Look further back, Henrik Pedersen in the Aston being well and truly mugged there. Gentleman racer, suddenly with this whole wave of young chargers coming up past him, so he's doing his best to try and maintain position, but it's an equal struggle really. They're much, much quicker, as we saw in the qualifying session looking at the time. So getting out of the way is Henrik Pedersen, which in a sense is the right thing to do. It might end up giving away places, but at least you're not getting in the way and being a danger. As round the outside swoops 27, that being Cesar Gazzo. 13 minutes on the clock. So the lead gap is 2.6 seconds, and the last lap was the best of the race for Charlie Fagg. So fastest lap to the race leader, suggesting he's going to build on that advantage. There going through is Max Busnelli for third place. So with just under 13 minutes still on the clock, Dean McDonald actually just dropping away by a length or two maybe from Max Busnelli. Fifth behind them, Becquerel Bessler. Sixth, Romain Ionetta. Seventh, Vincent Beltoise. Eighth, Tom Canning. Ninth, Greg Gilbert. And 10th now is Dennis Fetzer. That's the leading group in terms of the drivers. In other words, McLaren, Toyota, Porsche. McLaren, BMW, Audi 6th. Alpine 7th. Aston 8th. Audi 9th. Porsche 10th. Through goes Dean McDonald, but he is dropping away slightly from Busnelli. Now, is he going to be caught by the best of the BMWs? Number 12 next in that queue is Becquerel Bessler, a Turkish driver, and as they make the climb up now into the Variante Ascari, 12 minutes and counting here on the clock. Greg Gilbert through, driving number 42, the Santalok Audi. And you've got a lapped Toyota in the midst of the battle elsewhere as well. The Anthony Hodson Toyota, 28th. Right, third, gap suddenly comes down again, doesn't it? Dean McDonald had dropped away a little bit on the back part of the circuit, but he closes in on the tail of Max Busnelli into the Parabolica. Round that right-hander they come, release the lock a little bit, fire it at the timing line. Busnelli goes by, behind him is McDonald. And as they go through now over the line, next in the queue, Mclaren Bessler, and Charlie Fagg has done another fastest lap of the race, a 1:58.262, and he's building the gap over Stefan Lemeret. It's now 3 seconds and change. Henrik Pedersen is losing place after place lower down. Jim Pla, perhaps as expected, is doing an outstanding job. He's up into 11th place now in a car that started 34th on the grid, taking it over now from Jean-Luc Bobelic. So through goes this fight for third place, Busnelli versus Dean McDonald. And Dean inching up onto the tail of Busnelli, who runs out a little bit wide there. Swings across the front of the McLaren, preserves that place on the run into now the second of the chicanes. This was our big incident zone earlier on with that tangle between Nemi and Rapponge. And I don't think you're going to see Paolo Nemi's Porsche back out tomorrow, sadly, looking at the frontal damage of that car. The mid-engine Cayman going no further, certainly today, and I'd be surprised if it were out tomorrow. So Fagg, Lemeret, Busnelli, McDonald, Bessler, Iannetta is the order of the top 6. And in fact, 7th and 8th are not that far adrift, because at the back of this group is Beltoise 7th and Delsart, who has now become Canning, although it's still shown as Delsart on our timing page. He is in 8th place. Tom Canning still running with them. So that is still looking as there could be a change before the very end of the race. Pit window has now closed, just to confirm. So everybody should have done their mandatory stop if they're still in the race. There is the lead gap. You can see now how Charlie Fagg is getting away from Stefan Lemeret. Really impressive drive this by Charlie. Good strategy from United Autosports. The Richard Dean, Zach Brown team having effectively taken over or morphed with HHC, Charlie Kemp and Jody Hemmings' team. Very, very successful itself in GT4 European Series, as well as British GT and Ginettas and British Formula 4 years ago. And effectively what HHC has done is become the United Autosports GT4 operation, and it was a good call to bring Bailey Voisin in at the end of that safety car period, get that stop done and release him into pretty clear traffic, pretty clear air. So it is Charlie Fagg now leading the way, having taken over from Bailey Voisin. Lemeret second, the gap 3.5 seconds, and then for third Max Busnelli ahead of Dean McDonald, with Mclaren Bessler's BMW running in 5th spot into the Curva Grande. Clock ticks on down, 9 minutes to go still. Now Busnelli again under attack, because the McLaren closes right up as they come now into the second of the chicanes at Monza. They're behind, look, in 5th spot, Mclaren Bessler. In 6th is Romain Iannetta. Beltoise 7th, Canning 8th. And Jim Pla might yet gain more ground within his great drive here. He's 11th, but there's another spot to be taken, I think, before the very end. So the fight for third place accelerates now down towards the Variante Ascari once more. Because they're squabbling like this, they're not really closing on Lemeret, but in turn Lemeret can do nothing at all seemingly about Charlie Fagg, although he has just taken a 10th out in the middle sector, but it's not really enough. It needs to be significantly more than that, sector after sector after sector, and that is not seeming to happen. That's Tom Canning going through, hanging on to 8th place. Into the inside line, looks Dean McDonald into the parabolica, very nearly committed to a move, thought about it, abandoned it at the very last moment. You saw the car twitch, and as they turn out of the parabolica, now up towards the line they come. Porsche versus McLaren still. That little white dot in the distance is the second-placed Toyota of Stefan Lemeret, the GR Supra, Gazoo Racing. And there, further back, Audi versus Alpine, as Romain Iannetta is under attack from Vincent Beltoise. And Beltoise in the Alpine has got a mega tow, because he's just done the fastest lap of the race. He's on the outside line, he's got past 1, he's got past 2. Brilliant move if he can secure this into the corner, and he can't. He runs wide over the curb, hops and skips. So back goes the BM, back ahead goes 77, Romain Iannetta. 2 up and 3 down, because Tom Canning goes through as well, and Beltoise, by going over the curb, has done some damage. It looked great to begin with, getting past 2 of them, but he's gone with such force over those rumble strips, sleeping policeman type curbs, that it's done damage to the underside of the Alpine, and that car is struggling down to the end. So more disappointment for some continues in what's been a topsy-turvy race. Here's the replay. Look, Beltoire's in the Alpine, brakes as late as he dares. He gets past 2, he turns in, but he's not going to make the corner, so he runs wide over the first curb, but that's the one he hits very hard, and then another curb to bring him back onto the racetrack, and the net result is damage is done. So Vincent Beltoise limps on, as here the race leader, Charlie Fagg, comes through. Now we've got people being investigated for their pit stop times and for speeding in the pit lane. Quickly to try to recap, number 7 Aston Martin's time is under investigation. As there you see Becare Bessler just ahead of Romain Iannetta. Of those that are being investigated for speeding in the pit lane, I don't think it's going to affect anybody. No, it's not, as far as the leading positions are concerned, so it's not one of our main contenders, as it were. I know it affects individual crews, but it won't affect what we're looking at within this top 8, as Charlie Fagg continues to hold sway up front. And Beltoire's, having just done the fastest lap of the race, is now going to be a retirement with that damage. So 5.5 minutes still to go. Off the Parabolica with the famous banking in the background they come. And they're heading into the first of the chicanes is Max Busnelli, hanging on a 3rd place. There, 5th, Becare Bessler. And he's just being able to keep Romain Iannetta at bay, tapping the tail. The Audi tickles the BMW, tries to hurry it along, but Becare Bessler hangs on to position. And this is allowing Tom Canning the chance to close up as well in the 7th placed Aston Martin. There it is, the Mirage racing car through. Further back in the pack, number 11, the 2nd of the Borissan Automotive BMWs, that's Jagish Giedich. And number 69, you can see there, is Michel Blanchiment, and he is a class leader. He is the leading AM right now, having taken over from Christophe Amont. 2 occasional GT3 drivers, but much more at home, you could argue, in GT4 machinery, run together in the French Championship. So it is Charlie Fagg and Bailey Voisin leading the way, looking as though a win is theirs, because they're 3.5 seconds up the road for Team Full Motorsport. Michel Blanchiment goes through, heading the AM Cup. So it is Charlie Fagg and Bailey Voisin, not only for a race win, but also for Silver Cup honours. Max Busnelli and Ivan Jacoma are on for Pro-Am in number 718, so Cayman is going to take a class win as well as be 3rd overall. And here it is Blanchiment under attack, because for the class lead, the Audi versus the Toyota, Wilfried Casalbon is behind him, having taken over the Supra from Andrea Benezet, and comes up to the inside line there, Wilfried Casalbon, but he can't go through, can he? Not quite. Might run a bit deep into the corner if he's not careful, and that actually gives the Audi a fraction more breathing space. 3.5 minutes on the clock. It's going to be about 2 more laps for those cars. So down they come, but as Charlie Fagg maintains his 3.5 second advantage up front, it's looking pretty good in this battle for AM Cup honours. Together they run then down towards the Parabolica, Blanchiment versus Casalbon. Meantime, Becare Bessler is still under attack here from Romain Iannetta as they wriggle their way up through the chicane. And behind them is Tom Canning, who can't quite make a move against them. He might be being savvy and just waiting to see if it ends in tears ahead of him rather than get caught up in it, but he's not being able yet to crawl all over the back of that 6th place Audi. So there is Bessler. Good run this actually, because that car has moved up nicely from where it qualified and is now looking very strong indeed. And Becare Bessler doing a very good job of withstanding the pressure that's being thrown at him. Those BMWs a couple of years ago were the cars to have really, but 29th on the grid it started and 5th it runs. I think that was a pretty amazing turnaround of fortunes for the Borissan Automotive Motorsport team as Max Busnelli battles on. Now, looking at where the leaders are relative to the clock, it's going to be the last lap to start when they come over the line, isn't it? So it'll be 1 more lap at the end of this. Through they come with still Bessler keeping Iannetta at bay, and Tom Canning now starting to mount another attack here. So there, the Pro-Am leader, Max Busnelli, having taken over from Ivan Jacoma. And in the background, does Tom Canning start to make a move in that red, white and blue Aston Martin? He does. He comes up to have a go against the Audi Romain Ionetta on the inside line, the Aston on the outside. So Romain, having taken over from Eric Clement, turns through the Parabolica. Tom Canning looks for the inside line there. He's been busy in British GT esports these last few weeks. Now a real world race for him. And he's right there on the back of the Audi as they come over the timing line once more. The Aston Martin has certainly got the grunt in a straight line, but has the BOP been kind to it? Let's see, because Tom Canning can't just drive past. He's going to have to try to make the move under braking for the chicane. The Rettifilio beckons and he can't go through there, but a little mistake is made by Beccaro Bessler. Suddenly they all concertina arriving on the scene as well. Look, is Greg Gilbert in the blue and white Audi that runs in 8th place there at the back of the queue. We're on the last lap of the race then as the cars accelerate their way up to the run round the Curva Grande for the 26th time, final lap of the race. And for third position, it has not been resolved yet. They are still together. Max Busnelli still under attack from the hard-charging Dean McDonald. Side by side there, the BMW, Beccaro Bessler, second in Pro-Am. Third in Pro-Am is the car that he's trying to defend from, Romain Ionetta, who's all over the back of that BMW, and the AM Cup is still just the Michel Blanchimont Audi ahead of Wilfried Casalbon. It may not end that way, but it's how it is at the moment. So right now, that BMW needing to be a cork in the bottle as they sprint down towards the Variante Ascari once more. Inside line, defensive line claimed by the BM. To the outside line goes the Audi. The clock hits 0 now then, so the winning car, there it is, for United Autosports. Great debut in GT4, this for the team, with all that help from HHC's history. Comes through the Parabolica, and Bailey Voisin and Charlie Fagg. I think it's the first time Bailey would have raced here. Charlie's been here before, but a great drive by both. Charlie Fagg and Bailey Voisin win the first round of the GT4 European Series. A great drive, great team effort that. Great way to start the season. Second goes to Stéphane Lemeray and Antoine Potti. Third, a class win to Max Busnelli and Ivan Jacoma, and then the rest come pouring over the line. There is Jim Pla up into 9th, going for 8th in the Mercedes as they come to the line. Third is Busnelli, 4th Dean McDonald over the line. Bessler just hangs on to 5th ahead of Ionetta for 6th. Second and third they are in Pro-Am. 7th Canning, 8th Gilvey, 9th Pla, 10th Dennis Fetzer, and still they come. This for the AM Cup honours. Wilfried Casalbon in the Toyota tries to get up on the inside line. It's a tighter line. Is it going to pay out for him as they come now towards the checkered flag? It's going to be a drag race to the line. It's a virtual dead heat between the two of them, and the Toyota looks as though it just got through on the line, and timing and scoring confirmed that it did by 16 thousandths of a second. Wilfried Casalbon wins the class by 16 thousandths of a second. Michel Blanchimont gets mugged on the line. He finishes second, and third in the AM Cup goes the way of number 75 Porsche, Ricardo Canzian, bringing that car home third in class. So a race, yes, affected by interruptions, the safety car and the full course yellows, but when they were racing, there was some great racing and a really impressive job collectively by Bailey Voisin, Charlie Fagg, United Autosports, brackets HHC Motorsport. Great effort by all concerned there, and what a way to have your first race at Monza for Bailey Voisin to come home as a victor. Charlie Fagg has always looked good in GT4 machinery, and proving the point once again here. So all boxes ticked. Winning margin 3 seconds in the end. Second, Stéphane Lemeray in the Toyota with Antoine Potti. Third, Max Busnelli and Ivan Jacoma in the Pro-Am winning Porsche. Pro-Am top 3, 3rd, 5th, 6th, just to put them in the context overall. So there, the cars that aren't required for podiums will be dispatched to the paddock. Those that are required, allowed through, which include, of course, Charlie Fagg as the race winner. So there is the winning McLaren, Toyota second, Stéphane Lemeray, and then for third place, Max Busnelli and Ivan Jacoma. I'm imagining we'll get all the class winners as well. can see Charlie Fagg running deliberately off the road. That's not a mistake. That's to help with the pickup, so that just by picking up extra rubber on his already hot tyres just helps to lift the car for any ride height issues. It also gives it a little bit more weight because you'll be very, very low on fuel now, so just to make sure that there's nothing untoward in scrutineering. You'll see in all categories, of course, drivers taking that pickup on their in lap. So in they come. Charlie Fagg and Bailey Voisin, the race winners. Already home, 4th place, but 3rd in the Silver Cup. Dean McDonald and Gus Bowers. So a 1st and a 4th for United Autosports. Very, very good start to the season, that's for sure. And in the end, the car that qualified on pole position, Joel Sturm, ended up 32nd. Nikolai Moller-Madsen doing the 2nd stint, but we saw that car be delayed when it went off the road, but big problems for Nikolai Moller-Madsen in that 2nd stint. Jody Hemmings there, congratulating his driver. There, very, very happy race-winning driver Charlie Fagg. We'll, in a moment, take off his helmet, hopefully have a word with us. And Max Busnelli celebrating with Ivan Jacoma a Pro-Am win, 3rd overall. So an outright podium and a class win. Very happy Max Busnelli. New co-driver with Ivan Jacoma. It was Joel Camathias, but he's switched across to a different team for this season. Right, let's try and grab a word with our race winners if we can. Charlie Fagg and Bailey Voisin are victorious, and let's hear from 2 very happy drivers. Certainly one of them, Charlie Fagg at least, is there with Gemma.
Charlie, congratulations. A perfect strategy call after the safety car by the team, right?
Yeah, made my job quite easy for me. So look, I just want to say my teammate Bailey, it's his first ever racing out of juniors, and he was mega. But like you say, the strategy call from our engineer Jody was just awesome, and just made me have to drive around by myself for 25 minutes, so yeah, not bad.
You can't ask for more than that then?
No, not bad. Nice way to come back into the sport after a year out, and yeah, just want to say thanks to everybody, United, everybody back at Leeds, prepping the cars, and my family as well watching back at home. Cheers.
Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well done, Charlie Fagg, and nice words about Bailey Voisin as well. As I say, he's come out of Ginetta Junior Racing, and a great drive by the United Autosports squad. Right strategy call, and good reading of the regulations as well as when you can pit. So the McLaren unstoppable. Now let's hear from the Pro-Am victors, Max Busnelli and Ivan Jacoma, now with Gemma Scott.
Fantastic result there, 3rd overall and a Pro-Am win. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. It's a great result for us. The first time here in Monza with GT4. I'm happy. Congrats also to my mate Ivan Jacoma. Very good job in the first stint, and I try to finish in this position. I'm happy. Thank you.
Well done to you. Even that was a difficult stint, really, being behind the safety car for the majority of it.
Yes, a lot of safety car, a lot of restart. It was difficult to hold the tires hot, but we have to. Good.
Well done. Fantastic result. Well done, lads.
Thank you. Thank you.
So the Pro-Am winners in number 718 and 3rd overall as well. They had to work hard for 3rd overall as well because of the efforts of Dean McDonald there in that 2nd United Autosports McLaren that was right there behind them, right the way to the end. So the Porsche taking honours in Pro-Am. What about Am? On the line, Wilfried Casalbon by 16 thousandths of a second, coming home as the category winner. There are the trophies, ready to be presented, or collected at least, by the drivers. Let's just quickly have a look at the race results then. A win for Bailey Voisin and Charlie Fagg, from Antoine Potti and Stéphane Lemeray, Ivan Jacoma and Max Busnelli in 3rd place. Gus Bowes, Dean McDonald 4th, ahead of Chambo Lefoise and Bachere Basler. And then 6th, Eric Clement and Romain Iannetta. Ruben Del Sart and Tom Canning bag 7 from Fabien Michel with Greg Gilbert. Jim Pla 9th with Jean-Luc Beauvelique and Konstantin Dressler and Dennis Fetzer rounding out the top 10. Lower down the order, Wilfried Casarbon and Andrea Benezet. 18th overall, but a category win. And quite a lot of hard luck stories, quite a lot of damaged cars as well, which will need some TLC for tomorrow. But fingers crossed, as many as possible will be on track. So with the car of Hugo Conde being the first retirement, we lost something like 7 cars in total. And there, the drivers all good. This might take a while now to get everybody through this presentation. So you can see he's back to us, Charlie Fagg, Bailey Voisin stood with him. So there's Silver, Pro-Am and Am. A very busy pit lane. The cars that aren't required for the top 3 already in the paddock, and the cars that are required for the scrutineering area being held. The drivers there in that presentation pen, if you like, so they collect trophies and then go to the backdrop. So no, I was going to get optimistic then and say drivers are being called forward, but they're not. GT4 with a second race tomorrow. It'll be fascinating to see whether it follows the same pattern or whether it's going to be a very different order. So all the drivers, I think, are there. So as soon as possible, trophies can be presented. So they're stepping forward to receive trophies. For third in silver, Dean McDonald and Gus Bowers. For United Autosports, they go to the photo backdrop. Then for second place, in a moment, there will be the combination of Stéphane Lemeray and Antoine Potti. Still seems a shame that even with nobody around, in photographic terms these days, you still have to have a mask on. But it'll remind one of the times, I suppose. There, Stéphane Lemeray and Antoine Potti take second place in the Toyota run by CMR, and category winners, race winners, Charlie Fagg, Bailey Voisin step forward then as winners of the first round of the GT4 European Series. Charlie Kemp, I think that is, behind the mask and the hat as the representative of the winning team. But an excellent job done by United Autosports. As I say, it's got all of the GT4 expertise of HXC behind it, and it comes out with a good result. Right, Pro-Am, I think, should be next. Again, to be done in reverse order as the national anthem for United Autosports is played. Very briefly. Right, for third place in Pro-Am, up step, first of all, 77. The crew of Eric Clement and Romain Iannetta. The Audi drivers are there. Then for second, up come Cembolo Kbazi and Bakir Besler. The Turkish drivers with an excellent result. And then the class winners, Max Busnelli and Ivan Giacomo, take honours in the Pro-Am competition in the Porsche Century Ticino entry. Trophies in the air, they head to the photo backdrop with the team rep in the middle. And then we turn to the AM category in a moment, where the top 3 teams are getting ready. So congratulations to Max Busnelli and to Ivan Giacomo. Then we have the third place crew in the AMS, Dario Cerati, the septuagenarian, and Riccardo Canzian taking third in the class for the Auto Orlando Sport team. Second in the AM category, just losing out on the line, Christophe Hamon and Michael Blanchemin in the team Full Motorsports Audi. They will collect their trophies in a moment and then step forward. Probably a good job you can't see the face of Michel Blanchemin, because I think he's pretty frustrated about being mugged on the line. But anyway, second is a decent result nonetheless. Christophe Hamon with him in the grey overalls. And then for the winner's trophy, stepping forward now, Wilfried Casalbon and Andrea Benazet, who just jumped ahead right at the very end. Really, really bold move, but it worked, no question about it. So congratulations to the winning Toyota drivers, and they will bounce back tomorrow to see whether they can do the double in the GT4 European Series. So a quick look at the highlights of a lively race, with a good start being made by Antoine Potti from pole position. He led down towards the first of the chicanes with a good effort from Joel Sturm from pole position, just being able to hang on to that second spot as the cars made their way through the chicane. 46 of them went in and 46 of them came out, but it was later in the lap that we lost Hugo Conde with this big whack into the wall going through the Variante Ascari. That brought out the safety car, and on the restart things were just as lively, with Jamie Caroline bouncing up the curb. We got away with that, but less fortunate was Paolo Canemi, who got embroiled with Yacht Raponge under the braking zone for the chicane, and with big damage he was out of the race. Then the full course yellow was called for. Jamie Caroline didn't slow in time, whacked the back of Xavier Lloveras, and that brought out not just the full course yellow but the safety car to go with it. It delayed the pit window, and it meant that when we did go racing once more, it was a shorter second stint of just about 15 minutes. But leading away was Antoine Potti, and a mistake was made by him and also by Joel Sturm, who went up the escape road. That car in the end, that Porsche, fell away. 32nd it was at the very end of the race. A really disappointing result. But with the safety car period coming to an end and the pit window opening bang on cue, Bailey Boysen had come in, gave way to Charlie Fagg. He rejoined as the race leader and drove away into the distance to win by 3 seconds in a really good drive indeed by both of them. A really inspired pit strategy by United Autosports, good reading of the rules, and a McLaren wins the opening round of the GT4 European Series. Well done, Charlie Fagg and Bailey Boysen. See you tomorrow for race 2. From David Addison, goodbye.